Hello, welcome to the 12th chapter of Rubyfruit Jungle. Near the river on West 17th Street, I found a ragged apartment. The bathtub was in the kitchen, the electricity was DC, and the walls were layers of multicolor from so many coats of paint and wallpaper peeling over decades of misuse. Rent was $62.50 a month. My first piece of furniture was a used single-bed mattress someone had graciously left on the street. I drug it back up 5 flights of stairs and beat it until I thought it was clean enough to touch. The next day I got a job at the Flick serving ice cream and hamburgers in a bunny-esque costume. I made enough to cover rent, plus I filched as much food as I could from the ptomaine pits at work. After the subway and incidentals, I had about $5 a week for myself. That sum I hoarded until the weekend, when I'd go to the bars, where secretaries from New Jersey met secretaries from the Bronx, and they lived happily ever after. Standing next to the wrought iron railing at Sugar's Bar, with its New Orleans whorehouse red decor, I would swear to myself that I wasn't coming back next weekend. I couldn't take back the games, and I felt like a complete fool going over to some woman and asking her to dance. And the ones who came over to ask me to dance left their Mack trucks parked outside. Boredom set in my bones, but I didn't know where else to turn. So every weekend I broke the vow I made the weekend before, and I came back to lean against the wrought iron railing and look at the ladies. One Friday night I was spared the red velvet womb of Sugar's. A young woman showed up at the Flick and ordered chocolate chip ice cream and espresso. She looked straight into my eyes and said, "With a body like that, you ought to try something different from waiting on tables." "Who, me?" I nearly dropped the ice cream in her crotch. "You. When do you get off work?" 12. I'm coming back here to pick you up at 12. Jesus H. Christ on a raft. I've just been picked up by a spectacular 6-foot woman. Hot damn, New York may turn out to be something good after all. 12 o'clock and she was there in a long black cape with a Napoleon collar. It made her look even taller, and the high collar drew attention to a perfect nose underneath arching brows. Her name was Holly. She was 25, born in Illinois with no apparent ambition other than to attract attention. She asked me if there were any job openings at the Flick. There were, and the next day Holly was hired by Larry the Leech, who slobbered when he caught sight of her 34C in a leotard. Holly and I worked the same hours in the same area. She must have spent half her wages on me, but money didn't seem to matter to her. It was fine with me if she spent her money on me, if she didn't care. We went to see every show in the city on our nights off, and when there weren't anything we wanted to see, she'd take me to my door, kiss me goodbye, and swoop off in her black cape. I was having a hard time figuring her out. Maybe I need to doctor myself up a little. With that in mind, I went out in the early morn haze with my pea coat on and less than $1 in my pocket. 2 hours later I returned with a bottle of Madame Rojas, a can of shaving cream, a copy of the New York Review of Books, Variety, 3 Reese's peanut butter cups, 1 steak, 1 package of frozen spinach that had turned my shirt green and frozen my liver, razor blades, eyeshadow, mascara, and a felt tip pen. That night when I went to work I had on the eyeshadow, mascara, and Madame Rojas, but Holly didn't notice, or maybe she thought I was fine without war paint. We got off at 12 and she took me to a new bar on 72nd Street called the Penthouse. You had to have an expensive membership card to get in, but Holly produced one. "Holly, how did you get the money for that?" "I didn't. An actress gave it to me." "Out of the goodness of her heart?" "Partially. She's my lover." "Oh. I'm a kept woman, if that's what you're thinking." "I wasn't thinking anything at all, but I'd have hit on that eventually." "Now that you know my terrible secret," her voice quivered in mock terror, "are you going to walk out of my life forever?" "No, but if you have money and all that, why the hell do you work at the salt mines?" "Keeps me grounded in reality." "Who wants that kind of reality? I've been in it all my life. I'd like another brand." "Well, I like it for a while. It's a trip, you know." "Yeah. Say, who is this actress lady?" "Would you believe me if I told you Marie Dressler?" "She's dead smartass, but she happens to be my all-time favorite actress." "Come on, tell." "Kim Wilson." "No shit?" "No shit." "How did you meet her?" "That's a long story. I don't feel like getting into it. Anyway, She's okay, even if she's over 40. If you want to meet her, there's going to be a big party at Chrissa Hart's. You know, the archaeologist. I'll be with Kim, but we can all go together as long as I go home with her. Just wait until Chris lowers her blue eyes on you. That ought to be rich. Spare me the details. She's 70 years old, had her face lifted 5 times, and drips diamonds wherever she walks. She does drip diamonds, but she's 40-something and very, well preserved. Great, what does she do? Sleep in an old alcohol bath? I get pursued by the human pickle. Some friend you are fixed me up with a geriatric ward. I'm trying to help you out of your crushing poverty, love. I don't feel like talking about middle-aged ladies. Let's dance. We passed through a long bar, then a crowded room with a stone fireplace, another room, and finally arrived at the enormous square floor with the ubiquitous mirror ball glittering from the ceiling. For all its splash and Broadway clientele, it was a friendly place. Other women and men talked to us, bought us drinks, and invited us to parties. Neither of us noticed what time it was until we caught sight of the sky lightening outside the window. Look, it is beautiful sometimes, this city. It must be 4 a.m. and I'm not even tired, I said. Me neither. I only live a few blocks from here. Why don't we go to my place? Aha! Finally. Holly lived on West End Avenue in a big apartment with lots of old molding on the ceilings and parquet floors. A monstrous silver Persian, Gertrude Stein, greeted us at the door, and she was pissed that Holly stayed out so late. On our journey through the apartment, we found a trail of feline discontent, a chewed slipper, a shredded corner of the rug, and when we passed the bathroom, we saw that Gertrude Stein had pulled the entire roll of toilet paper off the roller. Is she always this vindictive? Yes, but then I look forward to her little surprises. You know, of course, that we are heading toward the bedroom and that we're going in there to make love. I know. Then why are you walking so slow? Come on, run. Holly trotted into a bedroom boasting an enormous brass bed with a plush maroon bedspread. Halfway to the bed she had her blouse off. Hurry up! I'm going slow so as not to arouse Gertrude's suspicion in case she's the jealous type. Sure enough, Gertrude was paddling after me with hostility in her slanted eyes. You're safe. Gertie will only try to slither between us. Wonderful. I've never done it with a cat before. Holly had all her clothes off and was rolling down the bedspread. She was more beautiful out of her clothes than in them. I tripped getting out of my pants. Molly, you really should dance. You're all sinew and muscle, and you look terrific. Come here. She pulled me on the bed, and I was close to passing out from being next to 6 feet of smooth flesh. She was running her fingers through my hair, biting my neck, and I started floating on hot energy. She had a soft, thick afro which she slid all over my body, and she kept biting me. Her tongue ran along the back of my ear, into my ear, down my neck, along my shoulder bone, and on down to my breasts, then back up to my mouth. I lost track of linear sequence after that, but I know she put the full weight of her body on top of mine, and I thought I was going to scream, she felt so fine. I ran my hands down her back and could barely reach her behind, she was so long. Each time she moved, I could feel the muscles under her skin fluidly changing shape. The woman was a demon. She started slow and got wilder and wilder until she was holding me so tight I couldn't breathe, and I didn't care. I could feel her inside me, outside me, all over me. I didn't know where her body began and mine left off. One of us was yelling, but I don't know who it was or what she was yelling. Hours later, we untangled ourselves to notice that the sun was high over the Hudson, snow was falling in the river, and Gertrude had devoured my right shoe, my only pair. Molly, do you ever make it with men? Why do you ask that? I don't know. I guess after making love like that, I hate to think of you wasting it on a man. Well, I do it sometimes, but not very often. Once you know what women are like, men get kind of boring. I'm not trying to put them down. I mean, I like them sometimes as people. But sexually, they're dull. I suppose if a woman doesn't know any better, she thinks it's good stuff. Yeah, I'll never forget when I found out the difference. How old were you? 22. I had been sleeping with guys since I was 18, but it took me 4 more years to get to women. I think I had spent those 22 years ignoring women. I blocked out anything sexual until one night my roommate unblocked me. We were doing summer stock, anything goes for the wrinkle set, and my roommate was one of the angels. She threw me in bed, really. I kicked and took a chunk out of her arm, but that didn't last long. She wouldn't let go, and I didn't want her to, secretly. Then I spent the next 3 weeks running away from her and telling her I didn't like it at all, and I only gave in because I was tired of fighting. Guess I fucked her over. If I knew where she was, I'd thank her for throwing me in that bed. She knew, and I didn't. So what happened? The show ended, and I came back here for auditions. She went out west, and like a stupid ass, I didn't sleep with her on our last night. I was still busy being a professional heterosexual. Every time I think about that, my stomach turns over. I'm certainly grateful to that lady, wherever she is. Here I am, reaping the benefits of her courage. Opportunist. Then she wrapped her arms around me for an instant replay. Saturday, I met Holly at her apartment. Kim was there in a deep red outfit with a black and white scarf. She looked pretty much like she did in the movies, except for the false eyelashes. Plus, she loaded her face with makeup to hide the wrinkles and put on her lipstick with a palette knife, to hide her shrinking lip line, I guess. Other than those attempts at youth, she was good-looking. I was fully expecting her to sit there with a drink in her hand and bore me with tales of being on the set with Rock Hudson and wasn't it funny when Jack Lemmon fell out the boat before the camera started rolling? Ha ha. A million laughs from a faded Hollywood that my generation doesn't give a shit about. Instead, she talked about Levi Strauss and structuralism and how she was getting into Susan Sontag's work. But she wasn't pretentious about it. She seemed to care for Holly a great deal. Her eyes followed wherever Holly moved. Gertrude the glutton was napping in her lap and staring out at me from the one green eye she held open for spying purposes. "Do you like cats?" she asked me. "I love cats, but I'm not sure about Gertie Steinstein. Underneath that silver breast beats the heart of an incurable sadist. She is revengeful. She reminds me of a cat we had when I was a child." "You were a child?" "Right, I guess we all were once upon a time." "Where did you grow up?" "In the slums of Chicago." "No shit! I mean, you did?" Kim laughed at me and said yes, she did. "Well, I grew up on a dirt farm and picked potato bugs." And here we are. Holly turned. "Oh, super, 2 bosom members of the proletariat. Spare me tales of how poverty is good for your character." The color ran to my face, but Kim saved me from firing back. "Well, if we're bosom members of the proletariat, then I'll take advantage of it." She leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. Holly laughed and the tension evaporated. I liked Kim a lot. I wish she'd take all that glop off her face. Why do women do that? She had good bones, and that's what counts. "We ought to get over to Chris's soon. Are you two ready?" Kim and I picked up our coats, and I was embarrassed by my pea coat. She didn't notice, or was above noticing. The townhouse was in the East 60s, and when we arrived, the butler actually took our coats. That was good, kept my ratty blue coat out of the way, and the hostess didn't get to see it. Holly swept into the room grandly, and Kim and I followed like attendants. A slender, sun-tanned woman with page boy hair came over and gave Holly, then Kim, a kiss. "Kim, darling, so glad you could come." "I wouldn't miss one of your parties for the world, Chris. I'd like you to meet Molly Bolt, a friend of Holly's and a new friend of mine." Chris looked at me with as much subtlety as a vulture. She took my hand in both of hers and intoned, "I'm delighted to have you. Come right over here and tell me what you want to drink, and then we can chat like civilized human beings." There were over 50 women in the room, and as Chris paraded me across the floor, a slight smirk visited their faces. "What will you have?" "A Harvey Wallbanger." "Marvelous." Lewis fixed this divine creature a Harvey Wallbanger, with the emphasis on the bang. "Now tell me what you do and all those things that one opens a conversation with. Then I'll tell you what I do, and we can move from there." Silent laugh. "At this moment I happen to be a waitress." "How colorful! But that's not what you really want to do, of course." "No, I want to go to film school." "How interesting! Do you want to act or something like that?" "No, I want to direct, but I may have to change my sex in order to get a job." "Don't do that." She put her arm around my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "We'll see what ye can do about breaking the sex barrier in film." Pause. Then I asked, "You're an archaeologist?" "Yes, but I'll bet you don't want to hear about me digging and dashing about in those dirty trenches, do you?" "Not at all. In fact, I was reading the other day about NYU's dig at Aphrodisios." Her eyebrows went up. A note of sarcasm crept into her voice. Yes, but they're botching the job. Now, on my dig, we are uncovering fabulous things. Simply fabulous. Last summer, I discovered the breast of Artemis done by one of the pupils of Phidias. I'm sure of it. I read about it in the Post. She totally brightened. Oh, they tried to stir up controversy about it, of course. Those parasites will do anything for copy. A square woman in a tweedy suit lumbered over and bellowed, "Chris, are you boring this young thing with tales of broken pots and torn fingernails? Really, dear, I'll never understand how you can get excited about all that dirt and shattered housewares." "You're a cultural infidel, Fritza. This is Molly Bolt, aspiring film director, an American Mai Zetterling." Fritza smiled. "We need one. I'm sick to death of John Ford." Chris flashed a rapier grin at the woman. "Fritza is a true Philistine. She's a stockbroker, the ultimate in tedium, but it has made her disgustingly rich." "Yes, and Chris relieves me of a sizable portion to help finance her dig." "It's your cultural dues, darling." "I tend to think of it as alimony myself." "Fritza, you're a cad." Chris linked her arm in mine. "Now I'm freeing this delicious woman from the clutches of your heavy-handed humor." We started through the crowd, leaving Fritza to her drink. Pay no attention to Fritza. She was my first lover at Bryn Mawr, and we've grown comfortable in our hostility. "Chrissa, Iris is here," a voice called from the crowd. "Excuse me, Molly. I'll be back as soon as I can." Holly and Kim came over to me, and Holly snickered. "See, I told you she'd flip out over you. She likes dark-haired women with strong faces. I bet her ovaries hit the floor when you walk through the door." "My irresistible charm, ladies." I lifted my glass for a toast. "To ovaries." "To ovaries," they echoed. Then Holly scampered off in the direction of a waving arm with too many gold bracelets on it. "What do you think of the party?" Kim asked. "I don't know. I haven't had time to talk to anyone except Chris and her friend Fritza. The gruesome twosome, that's been going on since 1948 when they graduated from Bryn Mawr. She mentioned Bryn Mawr, but not the year." "Naturally. Want to go over there on that bench and sit down for a bit?" "Sure. I promise not to ask you any questions about your career." "Good. I'm running away from it. I can't act anyway. Do you mind if I ask you a personal question?" "No, I don't think I believe in those kinds of separations anyway." "That I'll keep in mind. Are you sleeping with Holly?" "Yes." "I thought so. You know she took that job at the Flick so she could get to know you. She told me about it. She's very honest." "Does it bother you?" "No, not really. Once I got beyond 35, I stopped being torn up about those things, and I definitely gave up on monogamy. Maybe I can do it too, but no one else seems to be able to." "Well, don't test yourself. Non-monogamy makes life much more interesting." Kim laughed and looked at me. Her eyes were very light blue-gray. There was something good about her that radiated through her eyes. "That's another thing you've said that I'll keep in mind. Here comes another question. Got your fielder's glove on?" "Check." "Do you love Holly?" "No. I like her a lot. I think in time I could love her too, but I don't think I'll ever be in love with her. We're too different." "How?" "Oh, Molly's impressed with names and money. She doesn't have much ambition, I think. I do. I don't care about who's got what. I care about getting to school and getting on with my work. She doesn't understand that, but as long as we go out for fun, there isn't any friction." "Well, look here in the corner. Beauty and the Beast. Ha ha!" Chrissa popped her head over a lethargic palm. "Really, Kim, you keep all the young ones to yourself. If you were a man, they'd call you a chicken queen." From the greatly increased crowd, a voice called out, "Chrissa!" "It's simply impossible to talk at my own party. Molly, have lunch with me next Thursday at 1. Four Seasons." "1, next Thursday," I replied. She gave my hand a squeeze and disappeared back into the mass. "Better wear your chastity belt." "Haven't got one. Do you think B.O. will do the trick?" Lunch with Chrissa was an exercise in evasion. Since I had borrowed all the clothes on my back, I was afraid to lift a fork to my mouth. Suppose something would slip off into my right tit and I'd wreck the damn blouse. And the questions from Chrissa. Sly and charming, but all leading to the same conclusion. I strained to be pleasant and kill the last gasp of a southern accent, but I nearly lost my restraint when she hinted she'd pay my way through film school. If only. Somehow I got through it without slopping whipped cream on myself and without committing myself. Riding the subway home, I watched the people watching me. I had on nice clothes, so I was getting stares of idle curiosity, and even approval, rather than the usual bitter, searching eye. Didn't Florence always say that clothes make the man? Oh, for sure, Florence. What the hell were they doing now that I was riding the BMT? Right this minute. If they could see me, they'd think I was rich. The hell with them. Why am I thinking about them anyway? Why did that woman in her well-modulated voice try to buy me off? I know why. I know good and why. Shit. What do I do now? I can't run a kept number. I know it's fucked not to be able to do it. Hell, I should take her money and go to school. Her old man got rich off the backs of the poor anyway. Part of the money is my inheritance. Retribution. I should take the goddamn stuff. How can I pay for school myself? A semester is $1,000. Goddamn being poor. I got to use my ass to save my head. Well, fuck you, Carissa Hart. I'm not taking your enticing money. And fuck me, because I'm going to sit in that rat hole and stay proud but poor. Purity. There has to be some way out of this. Maybe I am hung up on false pride. Carrie doesn't even make $1,500 a year, and she won't take welfare or anything, not even from the church. Maybe it runs in the family. Family. Now that's a fat laugh. What family? All I had was room and board. Well, some of it rubbed off, I guess. But it's more than poor pride. If that woman loved me, it'd be different, or if I loved her. I'd take anything she gave me then, but she don't give a flying fuck about me. She buys me the way she goes and buys a winter coat or a Gucci handbag. I'm a piece of meat. Damn, I go walking down the street and the men look at me like a walking sperm receptacle. I walk into a party and this buzzard sees flesh. She's no different from a construction worker. She's just got class and bread, that's all. Well, piss. I'm not sitting here on this goddamn subway train feeling sorry for myself. Fuck that shit. So an old dyke tries to buy my ass. Big deal. So I'm eating the wallpaper off the walls and ripping off day-old bread. Tough shit. I am getting my ass over to NYU tomorrow and telling those academic robots that they're giving me a scholarship. I'm the hottest thing since Einstein. They're lucky to be able to help me in my formative stage. Hell, there's more money one way to skin a cat. The word money was not in that sentence. Hold on. Hell, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Carrie all the time said that. Shit, I wish I'd stopped thinking about Carrie. And that was chapter 12. What do you guys think about Molly's, her insatiable confidence? That last few sentences were pretty powerful. I'd like to think that I'm that confident, that I'm the next Einstein. Do you guys think that Molly will succeed? Do you think she'll actually get into NYU? Let me know what you think about this chapter and make predictions about the future, please. Thanks for listening, guys, and thank you for being so patient with the lack of videos lately. I think I've figured out the formula to actually make this work, and hopefully I'll be having something almost every day. So we'll see. Thanks for listening and have a great day.